As always, Dr. Arikana is dragging France and their exploitative habits. Recently, she gave an interview to Al Jazeera and she had some interesting things to say about France and also the collective West. Watch this clip, we'll come back and discuss.
There is a serious problem for the West, for sure. I think the West did not see it coming. However, it was very naive of the Western nations to think that the exploitation of Africa was going to continue unabated forever. The West is definitely, if I may use a four-letter word, not so kind, they may be pissing in their pants, because what's happening in Africa is indeed a revolution, and a revolution that's way past due.
So you see it as a revolution, but what kind of revolution is it, in the sense that do you think this is throwing off repression from France, from the United States, from other nations? What kind of revolution do you see as underway?
Well, I like to think, if I were to use the biblical terms, this is a revelation among Black people. They're waking up and realizing that what has been happening is wrong, is wrong, is wrong, and change must come. And for true change to come, it must be brought by the people. What you are seeing is an African electorate that is now awoken, that is informed. They understand the real issues. In the past, Africans have been misinformed, misled, and given false information, and being thrown a shiny object and being told only the African heads of states are the problem. But now they understand the invisible hand and the role that the invisible hand is playing to make sure that Africa remains where they want Africa to be. The African heads of states, particularly those heads of states of the former French colonies, majority of them were just puppets put in place to continue the same French legacy, which basically boxed them in, where it said you have no control of your military, you have no control of your natural resources, you have no control of your finances, and if you continue from those three areas, you are free to rule your country any which way you want. What power does that president have? And in the past, any president that has tried to back the system and do something about taking control of the financial resources, and I'm talking about African countries depositing their bank reserves with France. I'm talking about African countries giving up their natural resources, no value addition, France having first right of refusal for all the natural resources discovered yet to be discovered, France companies having first right of refusal for all contracts, large, small, private, public, France having military presence in those countries, and France having the ability to invade them in the event that they feel their interests are being violated. France making sure that those countries can only be trained by France, the military can only be trained by France. The military equipment can only be bought from France. Come on now. Our people didn't understand all this.
Dr. Arikana is the former African Union ambassador to the US, and as you know, she's no longer in that position, and many speculate she got fired because she was going against France and speaking up and exposing them, and she did quite a lot. She's definitely an icon, and she cares about what is going on in Africa, and a lot of people in Africa love Dr. Arikana. In this specific interview, which I think they did a great job allowing her to speak without cutting her off or spinning their own narratives, she was able to speak uninterrupted, which they did well, I believe, the reporter from Al Jazeera. And she said a lot of stuff, but the few things that I want us to talk about is, firstly, she mentioned how the West is worried and they didn't see this coming, which is true. Not a lot of people suspected Africans, the youth, and specifically the Sahel region and the western region of Africa, to rise up and say no more to exploitation, to puppet leaders, and just saying no to being treated like we're not human beings. So definitely that's something that a lot of countries did not see that coming, but it happened regardless, and we're happy about it. But she also addressed that not everyone might have a good intention when it comes to coups and military juntas, and that's a good thing to take note, because if you believe every coup that is set up is by the people, you might end up being shocked. So that's something we also need to be cautious about. But on top of that, she talked about how, of course, they loved President Mohamed Bazoum that was just overthrown, right? Of course they loved him because he developed their country and didn't develop his own country. And that's the reason why they loved him. He did everything that they wanted him to do. He jumped for them if they say jump. He didn't question anything, and they even say that he's their ally. It's almost like a nickname. He's a Western ally. So when you're a Western ally, what exactly are you doing for your people? Because we all know these Western nations only put themselves first. And maybe they might think about throwing you some crumbs here and there. But even that is for PR. Even that is to tell you that they have done something for you or to come back and ask for more from you. So, you know, whenever you hear a president or a leader in Africa, especially being a Western ally, you have to question his integrity or intentions. You have to side-eye him somehow. But yeah, that's one of the things that she mentioned. Another thing that stood out for me from what she said was the fact that we have so much resources, right? For example, she gave an example of uranium, how uranium is being sold to France by Niger for, I believe, 90 cents per kg. But guess how much France is selling it for other Western nations? $200. So look at that difference. France is making more than 90% of the profit on their uranium that came out of our land. That's insane. That is crazy. That is something that, you know, even exploitation can't describe. The word exploitation is not enough to describe it. And they built their roads, they built their infrastructure, their education, everything that their people might need and more. And now they seem to never have enough. And that is why we are here. Their greed is what pushed Africans to their limits. And that is why we're saying enough is enough. No more French exploitation in the Western region and no more US exploitation in other parts of African nations. Anyways, fam, let us know down below what your thoughts are about this. I am Wongel Zelalem. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.